And we are live, and it is Tactical Tuesday, and you know that because it is the day after Monday. Fantastic to have you with me, whether you're watching this in replay or whether you're watching it live. If you are watching it live, I'd love you to let me know that you're watching it. Put a little comment in below, whether that be on Facebook or wherever we are, and let me know. Do you have any questions? Do you have any thoughts about the things that I'm going to be bringing up today? And look, if you do need any help at the moment, certainly people in Victoria, we're back in lockdown. This is all fun and games. But if you need perspective, if you need an idea about what should be your next steps, then feel free to reach out to me via russellpearson.com or via this video and just send me a message. So my name is Russell Pearson, for anyone who doesn't know, and Tactical Tuesday is what I do every single Tuesday. And if you're not watching this inside the Future Proof discussion group, then I invite you to come and join us, because that's where I'm going live in the Future Proof Business Group on Facebook, and that's where we have a discussion about all things adapting and shaping to the changing face of business. Hello, Alan, good to have you with me, and everyone else who's tuning in. So today, what I'd love to talk about is how many different marketing activities should we be focusing on to really get the biggest bang for buck and consistency out of our businesses. Good to see you, Neil. Thanks to have you join me. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw up on this board a couple of ideas that I've got, and I've been looking at these during the week, how to simplify this whole marketing thing down. Because it's funny, everyone looks at marketing as one thing and sales as another, and often there's a big gap between those two worlds. You tend to find that people who like sales don't need to do the marketing, or feel that they don't need to do the marketing, which is really preparing people for a sale. Now, if they did a little bit more of that, maybe they'd convert a little bit higher. And on the flip side, you've got people who are marketing because they're trying to avoid the sale and they never actually make an offer. So what I like to look at when I'm thinking of the sales and marketing sides of the business is how can I combine those into one process, just one process, so that I'm not looking at them as individual moving parts. And so that's where I start. I start that from the sale, which is up this end of town. So let's say that the sale is $1 amount. Now, a sale is closed once the cash is in the door. Just because we put an invoice out doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to pay it. So we want to make sure that we've actually got some skin in the game. People have paid the money. And we work back from there to the marketing activities that we're going to engage with. So from there we move to what I call a trigger. Now, a trigger is what is the catalyst for someone being able to say yes to what you've got. Now, that could be something like making an offer. That could be during a conversation, especially for more people who are into the consulting space or coaching space. When we have a conversation with people, is it on an e-commerce store? Are they able to actually click a button to add to cart? What is that trigger for you and your business? So you just need to know that. What is it that we're selling? What is it that is the offer that we need to make to actually get them to do that? Now, before that, we have this whole big area here. And that's the majority of marketing, but it's the like and trust side of marketing, where we build commonality, where we build camaraderie, and where we build rapport with the prospects so that they choose us and actually want to actually work with us, versus the unlimited amount of options there tend to be to solve any problem. So that's the like and trust part of know, like, trust. Now, before that, obviously, there needs to come one final thing, which is know. So how do they get to know who we are? And that's really the fuel end of town. It's the energy. There is always going to need some energy spent up in this first area so we can move people into the process. I've been actually doing a whole bunch of research on perpetual motion machines, which is the idea of a machine that you actually put energy into once and it will continue to actually create energy for itself over time. Now, unfortunately, that is an impossibility thanks to gravity and a number of other laws of physics. There is always going to be a point when you're going to need to continually add small amounts of energy to get the thing rolling. Now, that being said, once you've actually got something in motion, it's a lot easier to keep it going. So at the start, we may need to put a little bit more energy in than before. Now, what are some examples of putting that energy in? And ideally, what are some examples of the marketing things that we really should be focusing on? Because This is the area of town where I'm talking about today. What are the marketing activities that we need to do to bring in new prospects? So I'm not talking about after the sale. I'm not talking about after sales marketing and actually getting people to come back more and more. It's great to have those sort of things, but what I'm talking about is up here on the pointy end of town. So there'll be things like advertising. It'll be things like referral, what are we going to call them? Programs. There are all sorts of different referral programs. It'll be things like social media, which is really, there's 101 different flavors of social media. So it could be like hundreds of different types of social media. But what are we going to focus on? Is it going to be maybe affiliates, or partners who are going to do the introductory side of the business for us and maybe do the going out to market distribution for those people who are in well, anything really, like anything from manufacturing through to selling products. So there's all sorts of different areas there. But they're very big, broad examples of what we can put up this part of town, which is the energy part. Once we've got people to know who we are, ideally we bring them into our world, and there's got to be a way that we can capture those people to build that like and trust, so they say, you know what, you're the right person to help me with this problem right now. And that's what this is all about. At some point, we're going to have to make an offer, so we need it easy for them to make an offer, and we need them to be able to say yes and put some skin in the game, which is actually to give us some money for our products and services. But here is where we're focusing today. So how many different marketing activities should we be looking at? Now, when I think about this, I really think about the start of me in business. So we're going back. I've been doing this for 25 odd years, but actually starting my own company, I think it was 16 years ago, right? And so when I did that, I went and got insurance. When I went to get my business insurance, they asked me a series of questions. And one of those questions was, do you have more than 20% of your income in one of your clients? And I thought that was interesting. They were asking that question. So I asked them why, what was that all about? And they said, because if you've got more than 20% of your income in one of those clients, then that's a big risk for your business. Because if you lost that client just like that, then you're going to be doing a lot of work to actually fill that gap. And so you want less than 20% really in an individual client. Now, it's a nice problem to have if it's bigger, but you've got to look at the risk that you're actually putting yourselves into. So the same thing happens with marketing as to insurance. Do you have more than 20% of your leads in one lead source? Now, if you do, then that's something to address. So when I'm looking at a marketing program, I'm looking for at least 5. So that I at least cover off on that 20%, but it's always going to be more. My minimum is 5 different marketing activities that are going to bring different types of leads in across the course of a week, of a month, of a year. And ideally, I want to get to 10. So 10 is sort of my maximum. That's about reasonable to expect someone can manage that as a marketing manager or a business manager. And then no less than 5. Now, they could be different areas. You might have, for instance, 10 different referral partners. Now, technically, they're 10 different ways of actually getting leads in the door. Now, I have no problem with that type of diversity. Yes, it's all in one place, but as long as if one turned off, they all don't turn off, then that's the risk mitigation you're looking at, and that's the reason to do it. So let's say, for instance, if you had an ad campaign and you had 10 different ad campaigns, that's not 10 different sources, because if the ads get turned off because your account gets cancelled, that turns everything off. And so that's what you've got to consider. How am I differentiating and diversifying my risk across the different channels that I need to have to actually engage the right people to move through my process? Now, to identify where those people, like which ones that you should go to, it's a simple case of saying, who do I want to work with? Where are they the most? And which of these avenues can I use to communicate to them en masse and regularly? Because it's funny, because sometimes you look at a place like a trade show. You go, well, all my market is in the trade show. But in actual fact, that trade show only happens once a year. So is there enough leads coming from that one trade show that you can diversify on that enough to say that's a single marketing channel? Now, it might be for a season, but is it for the course of a 12-month schedule? Probably not. So that's what I want you to look at. How can you have more than 5 diversified ways of actually drawing leads in? And I would look at a maximum of 10, assuming that they are actually individual channels. They're actually different risk bases. All right, so the idea is a flood of drips. Every single one of these 10 different channels should bring you in a drip. So it might bring in 3 this week, and then another channel might bring in 1. Another one might not bring in any this week, but next week it brings in 2. And so the little drips come through that add up to a flood. We're not looking for some place that's going to give us 100 leads all at once, because that again leans into that risk space where likely we're going to get more than 20% of our leads from one lead source, and we don't want that. So we want little drips coming through all these different activities. And if there is a way to leverage the say content delivery or the way we're engaging people through one channel as another, that's great. It's more about the lead channel being turned off and us avoiding that risk to our business and the risk to consistency of the business, because a lot of the time people go, oh, well, I've got leads and then I've got no leads, and I've got leads and then I've got no leads. So looking throughout the year, do you need to change up your marketing mix because of seasonality? Are some lead sources going to work at certain points in the year, and if they're not in others, we need to replace them with something new and something more consistent. So that's what I've got to talk about today. Hopefully that's been helpful. If you've got any questions about the specifics of the marketing channels, you might have an actual specific case to do with you and your business, put it in the comments. One of the other things you can do is you can actually reach out and talk to me. We can have a quick conversation, see if there's something I can help you with in regards to not just your marketing mix, but putting that whole marketing channel into work and actually getting this system working so you get consistent leads and consistent sales into your business, because at the end of the day, that's what we need, consistency in our business. Till next time, stay passionate, and I will catch you next Tuesday on the next one. Now, what's the button? All right, let's get going with that one.